Backstories Podcast.
All right, so you really want to go deep on 50 Cent, huh?
Looks like it.
We've got this pretty in-depth Wikipedia article here all about him.
Yeah, it's pretty extensive.
But you want to, go beyond just the basic stuff, right?
Oh, what's the secret sauce? How'd he stay relevant for so long?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Let's get into it.
Okay, so right off the bat, what jumps out at me is how he's always kind of walking this line between massive success on one side and then almost self-destruction on the other.
That's true. It makes you think how much of that public image is carefully crafted versus just him being him.
Right, what's real and what's part of the 50 Cent persona.
I mean, there's no denying he came from a rough place.
Oh, absolutely.
Born Curtis James Jackson in South Jamaica, Queens. Poverty, losing his mom when he was just a kid, and basically growing up surrounded by the drug trade.
Yeah, that kind of stuff sticks with you, Shapes who you become.
For sure. But the article makes it clear he wasn't just passively accepting that fate.
No, definitely not. It mentions him getting into boxing when he was just 11.
Oh, wow, so young.
Yeah, he was searching for something right, some way to channel all that energy and frustration.
But even with boxing, it's he was already pushing the limits.
How so?
It says he was bringing guns and drug money to school around the same time.
Seriously?
Yeah. Even as a kid, there was this complex mix of discipline and risk-taking going on.
That's wild. And this is all before he even really gets into music, right?
Right, and that's where things get even more interesting. By his late teens, he's rapping in basements, mentored by Jam Master Jay from Run DMC, no less.
Wow, talk about an origin story.
Yeah, you can see the talent and ambition starting to take shape, but it's definitely not an easy road to stardom.
No, I imagine not. There were definitely some bumps in the road.
Major bumps. He gets signed to Columbia Records in '99 and drops How to Rob, which basically called out every big name in the industry.
Oh yeah, I remember that track. Bold move for a new artist.
Talk about making a statement. But it also put a huge target on his back.
And then the shooting in 2000. Right before a video shoot, no less.
It could have ended everything right then and there.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
But he pulls through, recovers, and instead of backing down, it almost makes him double down on that whole street persona.
Right. It's that near-death experience just cemented that whole get rich or die trying mentality.
Makes sense. When you stare death in the face like that, it's got to change your perspective.
But then getting dropped by Columbia and blacklisted for the Ghetto Quran track, that could have been the final blow.
Yeah, that's a tough break for any artist.
But that's when he starts grinding even harder, releasing mixtapes, building his own platform outside the whole traditional industry system.
It's pure hustle, right? He's not waiting for permission. He's creating his own opportunities.
Exactly. And it's during this mixtape era that he really hones his skills, develops his unique sound, and proves that he doesn't need the gatekeepers to reach an audience.
And ultimately, that's what catches Eminem's attention.
Bingo. 2002, everything changes thanks to that chance meeting. Eminem hears 50's raw talent, introduces him to Dr. Dre, and boom. $1 million deal feature on the 8 Mile soundtrack.
Talk about a glow up.
It's more than luck though, right? 50 was ready for that moment. He had the skills, the work ethic, the street cred to back it all up.
Absolutely. He put in the work, and when the opportunity came knocking, he was prepared.
And then Get Rich or Die Tryin drops in 03 and it just explodes, becomes this cultural phenomenon.
Oh yeah, I remember that. It wasn't just the music, it was the whole package, the image, the story.
Right. In Dat Club, 21 Questions, those become anthems he forms. G-Unit brings his crew along and establishes himself as a major force in the game.
But even at that peak of success, there's this underlying tension, right? It could all crumble at any moment.
Totally. There's infighting within G-Unit, feuds with other rappers, and this constant pressure to prove himself.
Yeah, it's he's never truly comfortable, even when he's on top.
The Massacre drops in 05, another commercial hit, but you can feel him fighting battles on multiple fronts.
And then the sales battle with Kanye West in 07, that was huge.
Curtis versus Graduation, epic clash of styles, a battle for the soul of hip-hop.
And Kanye's win really signaled a shift in the genre, didn't it?
Totally. It wasn't just about sales numbers. It was about what kind of music people were connecting with.
Yeah, Kanye's more introspective artistic approach really resonated with audiences.
But here's the thing. 50 doesn't just fade away after that loss. He keeps releasing music experiments with different sounds and maybe most importantly starts building his business empire.
That's where you see that strategic mind at work, right? He knows the music industry is fickle, but his brand, his hustle, That's something he can control.
The vitamin water deal is a prime example.
Oh yeah, that was genius.
It wasn't just an endorsement, though. He reportedly made bank when Coca-Cola bought the company like $100 million.
Seriously. Wow.
That's not just luck, that's vision. He saw the potential in a brand that connected with his audience, and he leveraged his image to make it huge.
That's the kind of business savvy we need to unpack here.
And it's just the tip of the iceberg. Mining, boxing, promotion, vodka books, the man is a diversification machine.
But then there's that other side of him, the self-destructive tendencies.
Right. Alongside the smart business moves, there's this string of feuds, legal issues, even that bankruptcy filing in 2015. It's hard to reconcile those two sides.
It's like he's constantly walking this tightrope between brilliance and chaos.
And maybe that's what keeps us so fascinated. He's unpredictable, keeps us guessing, and ultimately stays in the spotlight.
It all comes back to that question we started with, right? Is it calculated chaos, or is it just who he is?
I think it's somewhere in the middle, a mix of his upbringing, his talent, and his relentless ambition.
Yeah, it's all got to play a part. But there's got to be more to the story than just the public persona, right?
Definitely. We've covered the early life, the rise to fame, the setbacks, the business ventures, the constant controversies. But what about 50 Cent? The father, the philanthropist, the actual person behind all that.
That's where things get really interesting. We need to dig deeper beyond the headlines and the feuds.
All right, let's do it.
It's easy to get caught up in like all the feuds and the drama, you know?
Right, like that's the 50 Cent we see in the headlines.
But then you look at the Wikipedia article and you see this whole other side of him with the philanthropy stuff.
Yeah, the hunger initiative in Africa, that was pretty unexpected.
Right. Like the guy who's known for diss tracks is trying to feed kids.
It's the Street King energy drink thing, right?
Yeah, a portion of the sales went to providing meals for children. It's almost hard to square that with the image of him beefing with other rappers.
Definitely a different side of him.
And it wasn't just a one-time thing either.
Oh, really?
He founded SMS Audio and made sure his Street by 50 headphones also gave back to charity.
Interesting. So it's like this genuine desire to give back is woven into his business ventures.
Exactly. It's not just talk. He's putting his money where his mouth is.
Makes you wonder if it stems from his own experiences growing up in poverty.
Could be right. Like a way of addressing those systemic issues he saw firsthand.
Yeah, like turning his success into a way to help others who are struggling.
Adds a whole other layer to his persona. You see the drive for wealth, but also this awareness of social responsibility.
Okay, but let's be real, we can't ignore all the feuds.
Oh yeah, those are definitely a big part of his story.
Ja Rule the Game, Rick Ross, even Oprah at one point.
It's like he can't resist a good battle.
It's almost like he thrives on it.
Well, you gotta remember the context of hip-hop culture, especially back then. Feuds were part of the game.
Right. It was about establishing dominance, protecting your turf.
And selling records too, let's be honest.
There's that story about him wearing Gunplay's stolen chain to a bowling alley.
Seriously.
Yeah, like
No.
straight out of a movie.
Okay, that's next level.
Yeah.
But it just shows you how intense these rivalries could get.
But we also got to acknowledge that there are always multiple sides to every story.
Absolutely. What we see in the headlines isn't always the whole truth.
And 50 Cent has had his own share of legal troubles and accusations, too. Assault domestic violence charges. We can't just sweep that under the rug.
Of course not. It's all part of the picture. Admiring his music or his business skills doesn't mean condoning his actions.
It's about recognizing the full complexity of his story, the good and the bad.
His life is like one giant paradox, isn't it? He gets rich, then files for bankruptcy. He's generous with philanthropy, but gets caught up in these very public, very personal feuds.
It's almost Shakespearean.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a tragic hero or
Look,
something.
And his political endorsements are all over the place. From Bush to Obama, then supporting both Clinton and Trump, then retracting the Trump endorsement later.
I don't even know what to make of that.
It's hard to pin down where he actually stands politically.
Maybe it's more about pragmatism or just wanting to be part of the conversation no matter what the ideology is.
Yeah, maybe he just likes to stir things up.
It's a reminder that public figures, especially artists, can have complex and evolving viewpoints.
It seems like he's always pushing the boundaries, testing the limits of what's acceptable.
And maybe that's what makes him so fascinating. He's unapologetically himself, flaws and all.
So how do we reconcile all these seemingly contradictory parts of him?
I think it's a mix of a carefully crafted image and genuine authenticity.
Yeah, like he's playing a character, but it's a character built on real experiences.
He's not afraid to show his vulnerabilities, his struggles, even his mistakes.
And he's definitely not afraid to evolve.
How so?
The Wikipedia article talks about his move from music to television, starring in and producing shows like Power, getting roles in action movies.
Oh yeah, Power is huge.
It just shows he's not limited to one genre or medium, always looking for new ways to express himself.
And new ways to make money, let's be honest.
Of course. But remember that Super Bowl halftime show?
Oh yeah, that was epic.
Who would have thought the kid from South Jamaica would be sharing the stage with Dr. Dre, Snoop, Eminem, Mary J. Kendrick Lamar?
Talk about a full circle moment.
It just proves his staying power, his ability to adapt and stay relevant.
He's become more than just a rapper. He's a pop culture icon.
So what's the takeaway from all this? What have we learned from going deep on 50 Cent?
I think his story's a reminder that success isn't a straight line.
Definitely not.
It's about resilience, reinvention, pushing boundaries. But it's also a cautionary tale about fame and fortune.
And the importance of staying true to yourself.
Even when the world's trying to put you in a box.
It's definitely made me think differently about the evolution of hip-hop and 50's place in it.
His influence is undeniable, in music, in business, everywhere.
So after unpacking all this, what stands out to you as the key to his success?
Is it the talent, the business savvy, the controversy?
Or maybe a crazy mix of all of the above?
It's a question worth pondering.
We've only scratched the surface here, but hopefully this deep dive has given you a new perspective on 50 Cent.
The man, the myth, the legend.
You know, it's funny when you think about it, his story really kind of flips that whole rags to riches thing on its head.
Yeah, how so?
He makes it big, right? Achieves the dream. But then there's that bankruptcy filing in 2015. It's like a reminder that even with all the money and the fame, there's still these internal struggles, financial complexities.
Like maybe even a little self-sabotage in the mix.
Maybe. It makes you wonder what was going on behind the scenes.
Well, that bankruptcy filing, it's almost like a mini version of his whole career when you think about it.
How do you mean?
It's this bold move, right? Some might even call it reckless, but it lets him restructure things, renegotiate, and ultimately come out ahead.
Yeah, he turns what could have been a total disaster into just another chapter in the 50 Cent story.
Exactly.
It shows you how resilient he is, his ability to adapt and reinvent himself. Like, he's not afraid to take risks, even if it means public scrutiny or financial setbacks.
And he usually manages to land on his feet somehow.
Think about the trajectory from selling drugs on the streets of Queens to selling records, to selling vitamin water, to selling his own headphones, to selling TV shows and movie roles.
It's wild, isn't it?
It's this constant evolution, a never-ending pursuit of the next opportunity.
You can't deny his hustle, that's for sure.
It's that entrepreneurial spirit that sets him apart. He gets that success isn't just about talent. It's about building a brand, diversifying, and always staying one step ahead.
And let's not forget his mastery of controversy.
Oh yeah, he knows how to use that to his advantage.
All those feuds, the headlines that keep him in the public eye, generate buzz, and honestly, they probably fuel his success.
It's a risky strategy, but it's definitely worked for him.
He's kind of created this larger-than-life persona, right? This 50 Cent character that's both aspirational and cautionary at the same time.
Like, he embodies the American dream, but also the potential downsides of fame and fortune.
And through it all, he never lets you forget where he came from.
Yeah, even with all the success, he still has that street edge, that grit and determination that got him to the top.
It's part of his DNA.
So when we look back, how will we remember 50 Cent? What's his legacy in the world of hip-hop and pop culture?
I think he'll be seen as a pioneer, an innovator, a true original.
Definitely. He broke down barriers, redefined what it means to be a rapper, and built an empire that goes way beyond music.
He's also someone who embraced his complexities, his contradictions, never shied away from controversy.
Love him or hate him, you can't deny his impact.
He shows us that success can be messy, that reinvention is a constant process, and that staying true to yourself, even when it's messy, is how you make a lasting impact.
We've really gone deep on this one, haven't we?
From the streets of South Jamaica to Hollywood, 50 Cent's journey is one wild ride, full of ups and downs and unexpected victories.
It's been fascinating to unpack all this with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a great conversation.
And to everyone listening, we encourage you to go back, check out the sources we used, and keep exploring the many layers of 50 Cent's story. His influence on music business and pop culture is huge, and his story is far from over.
Who knows what he'll do next?
That's the exciting part.
Backstories Podcast.